Welcome back to Mac Music Review. I'm Mac, and before we hop into the review, I just want to say there's going to be some stuff down in the description. If you want to know how the channel works, all that good stuff is going to be down in the description. Today we are going to be looking at the album God's Favorite Customer by Father John Misty. GFC is the latest record by Father John Misty. It is his fourth album, and you may be wondering, who is Father John Misty? What is Father John Misty? Well, Father John Misty was, or Josh Tillman is his real name, was a drummer for Fleet Foxes. Before he eventually decided to do his own stuff, he originally started making some albums and songs and EPs under Josh Tillman, and then moved on to Father John Misty, which had his greatest commercial and critical success, more critical success than commercial success. Anyway, Father John Misty has performed on Saturday Night Live, on late shows, several times. With this album, he performed the song Mr. Tillman. For his last album, he performed the song Pure Comedy. He's done Born in the USA it was one of his first two albums. I don't know if it was the Honey Bear album or Fear Fun. But this guy's been performing his songs on Saturday Night Live shows ever since he's been Father John Misty. So he's had that sort of success, but he hasn't really had any radio hits. So I wouldn't be surprised if you've never heard of him. Then again, you're probably not watching this video unless you know who Father John Misty is, unless you know this album. Welcome to the closet. I thought it'd be more quiet in here. Some of my family just got here, and I don't want them ruining the video. Anyway, this album, GFC, is Father John Misty's smallest album. His other albums all had like a little bit over 10 tracks, like Pure Comedy had like 13, his other albums had like 13, 12, 11 or whatever. And this album is actually under 40 minutes long. It's easily the shortest, the most digestible Father John Misty album, both in the length and in the music and the lyrics. Lyrically, this album is not as huge and ambitious and crazy. This is the most down-to-earth Father John Misty album. I mean, the lyrics are a lot more human. In this album, Father John Misty he plays a character. Father John Misty is a character that Josh Tillman plays. A very harsh, sarcastic, witty, clever in like a poisonous, toxic way most of the time. Like being very critical or making really smart observations, but in kind of a sharp way that's kind of like, ooh, what did you just say? And he, especially this latest album, the album before this, I mean, Pure Comedy. But on this album, he kind of lets his guard down. He still has that cleverness, he still has that wit, but he also lets in some human emotions. He talks about love, and he just kind of lets his guard down and talks about, he sings more vulnerably. He sings, and the lyrics are more vulnerable on this album. The musical style of this album is a lot like Pure Comedy. It's all, it's all real instrumentation. On the song, Please Don't Die, that song actually has a whole lot of different instruments. It's got harmonica, it's got guitar, it's got piano, it's got some other stuff. I don't remember all the stuff on the top of my head. But on this album, you're going to hear a lot of guitar, you're going to hear a lot of piano. Some of the songs have really stripped back instrumentation, like The Palace and The Songwriter, which are very simply just him at a piano or just him with a guitar, just singing with this really sparse instrumentation. Other places the instrumentation gets really big and epic sounding, like on Hangout at the Gallows, which, slowly increases in intensity and bigness and hugeness in the music. And the final song, We're Only People, the music gets pretty big and loud in that song as well, pretty epic. And then Disappointing Diamonds Are the Rarest of All is just really upbeat. It's once more, it is this real instrumentation. It's a lot of energetic guitar, but it's a very upbeat, kind of loud and energetic song, which there's not a whole lot of on this album. Some of the songs are very bright sounding. The music is just very positive and uplifting, like on Mr. Tillman and Date Night. Date Night is the only place where the music gets kind of different sounding, where it goes into kind of a more electronic, more modern direction, with the opening of that song being this kind of jarring, kind of weird music that's hard to play. So I don't know what kind of instrument made that music. It's probably, done on a computer, at least in part on a computer. But yeah, you have a lot of real instrumentation on this album, a lot of guitar, a lot of piano. GFC is a really good album. It's really good. Most critics agreed on that. Pitchfork said this is great. Art TV said this is great. Anthony Fantano rubbed his bald melon head and said this is almost great. And I disagree with him on that. But whatever. At least he didn't say it was terrible. In terms of music, this is a really, really good album. I really like this kind of instrumentation. I like it when an artist just does... I love the music on Pure Comedy. We're going to be talking about that album next. But I love this approach to music where it's all real music. It's all literally just this guy singing and then, you know, real guitar, real piano. I love the really sparse instrumentation on this album. On the songs The Palace and The Songwriter, where it's really just his voice, his lyrics, and this very sparse instrumentation. And it just makes the voice and the lyrics shine so much brighter. And it sounds so good. These songs sound so good. Disappointing Diamonds are the rarest of them all. Just really great music on that one as well. Just Dumb Enough to Try with the music that's going like this, and it's pulling back and forth and slow and dramatic and big. And just, and Mr. Tillman with his very light, airy music that's very bright sounding. And the big epic music of Hang Out at the Gallows, especially that one, and then We're Only People, works very well musically. This is a highly successful album that really just sounds great more often than it doesn't. The lyrical content of this record, I think, is very, very good, which is not at all surprising. I think Father John Misty, personally, is my personal favorite singer-songwriter in the singer-songwriter genre. I just think he's just, one, a fantastic singer. We'll hop into that next. But we're going to talk about the songwriting. I mean, it's so good. Occasionally, the songwriting will be really fourth wall breaking. He likes to do that, like to step out of himself and like look at things from a fourth wall breaking perspective. A lot of his writing, the fourth wall breaking stuff is on Mr. Tillman and the Songwriter. Mr. Tillman, he's singing about himself and him like crashing a hotel and just partying at a hotel, but like from an out-of-body experience where he's talking from someone else's perspective about him. He does the same thing on the Songwriter, but in respect to his wife, singing from his wife's perspective. I mean, like, yeah, he does this hypothetical thing. What if his wife was the songwriter, saying all this revealing stuff about him, instead of him being the songwriter, saying all this revealing stuff about her, exposing their marriage, exposing how they need each other? What if she was doing that to him? And it's kind of confessional. At the same time, he's also kind of seems to be praising himself. It's witty, it's fourth wall breaking, it's clever, it's good. Sometimes on this album, like I said, Father John Misty really, he does have that cleverness, he does have that wit that you see in all the Father John Misty albums, but on this he kind of shows his human side, he shows his vulnerable side as well. He really does this on the songs Please Don't Die and The Palace. Please Don't Die is about how he desperately needs his wife and how she desperately needs him. And that they just like desperately, desperately need each other to survive, to live. And then on The Palace, he sings like almost like through a gramophone, like through this really low quality microphone. I'm in over my head. And when he sings the line, he sings it in such a way that you feel like you're it, like, you know, you feel his struggle and his need and his, oh man, he's in over his head. He's really, and when he says that, you really believe him. It really feels like that. It sounds like that. It's so good. It's so good. The lyrics on this album, some of my favorite lines are from the first song and the last song. Hang Out at the Gallows. At the Gallows has this line. I'm not reading it, so I'm probably going to say it incorrectly. Whose bright idea was it to sharpen the knives right before the boat capsized? And then it says something else, and then I'm treading water as I bleed to death. It's like, treading water as I bleed to death. Ooh, that's just the imagery. And then later in the song, he just croons and loudly, not croons, he loudly sings, what's your politics? What's your religion? What's your reason for living? And it's just, it's so good. And then on We're Only People, he... one of my all-time favorite line from this album is, I'm gonna say it wrong. Let me think. he says, "Friends, oh my friends, I hope you're somewhere smiling. And I just want to let you know that I think about you much more kindly than you and I have ever been, and I'll see you next time round the bend." Or something like that, I'm paraphrasing, but I think about you more kindly than you and I have ever been. I just want to let you know that. And it's like, that's what he says in the song. And it's like, man, that is such a good lyric. That's so real. When I heard that, I was like, man, like that's how I feel a lot of the time. This is not about me, it's about this album. But I'm just saying that line hit so close to home. It was so good. And just, this album is just so good. Like, musically, lyrically, vocally, Father John Misty, amazing singer. So good. He's a lot of times very dramatic. His singing is very dramatic. Sometimes it's kind of from a funny, kind of comical perspective of his singing. And he communicates his wit and his sarcasm and the heart on this album all very, very well. He's a really, really good singer. I only have 2 complaints with this album, really, and that's the song Date Night and the title track. I think Date Night, it feels like it doesn't fit. But musically, it's really very bright and kind of jarringly bright and upbeat, especially in between Just Dumb Enough to Try and Please Don't Die. It really doesn't fit. It just doesn't fit in the track listing. The content of the lyrics, it's a little bit more sarcastic and humorous than the other songs on this album, and it just feels kind of out of place and weird. And then the title track, from a lyrical and musical standpoint, it's kind of blunt. It's not bad, it's just blunt compared to the sharpness and the high quality of the rest of this album. Just the really good music, the really good lyrics on so many of these other songs. And then you look at this song, it's like, it's kind of, there is some good stuff in the musical, lyrical, vocal department, but it's just less impressive. It's less good. It's less great than the other stuff on this album. Besides that, this is a really, really good album. Just all across, musically, lyrically, vocally, just really impressive. I'm going to have to give this thing a 4.25 rating out of 5. What is your favorite Father John Misty song? What's your favorite Father John Misty album? I personally am not a huge fan of his first 2 albums, which is really weird. This guy is my all-time favorite singer-songwriter, at least right now. The other great singer-songwriters out there, Sufjan Stevens, I said his name wrong just then, and Josh Garrels. They're really good. You probably haven't heard of Josh Garrels. He's a Christian singer. Amazing. Amazing. Not commercially successful, but he's really good. Father John Misty. He's incredible. His singing is amazing. His lyricism, his ability as a songwriter is amazing. And musically, his stuff is really, really good. I really like this album. Thank you for watching.